It's called
Temporary Black Voice.
I knew it was something. So, and we want to talk about, working on a deck of cards. And in that deck of cards, we're highlighting certain accomplishments, achievements of Black politicians this time, or Black civil rights workers, or whatever the case may be, the contributions that Black folks have made to the history of the United States. And so the topic today is Black politicians or people engaged in politics. And of course, you can't have a card. You couldn't have a card, 52 cards in the deck, right? You couldn't have a card without one of them with Barack Obama's face on it. Mm-hmm. That's super important. Play that card on the ace of spades, play that card. Well, obviously, he was the 44th president of the United States, very much involved in politics as a community organizer in Chicago. Lived in Chicago, probably at one point one of the most racist cities in America after the Great Migration, which saw 6 million African Americans move north, Chicago bearing a lot of that migration. But God, he did a lot of good things. Insurance-wise, the Affordable Care Act, which wound up carrying his name. And of course, they wanted it to carry his name so they could attack it all the time. But he did a lot for healthcare. He did a lot for organizing the community against poverty. And so he did a lot of really good things. And he, such an elegant speaker. Oh my God, a beautiful speaker with a beautiful family. And he was able to show that he wasn't born a criminal like Trump might say, but he was born a leader, born to be a leader because of his upbringing. And then even talking about the racism that he saw. He talked about that, didn't try to hide that, the racism that he actually saw from his own relatives sometimes. Mm-hmm. And having 2 beautiful daughters, that helped a lot. But then to be able to say that we should live in the United States of America, not a divided States of America. Mm-hmm. So this is totally the opposite of what current political atmosphere is at the moment. So, gosh, Barack Obama is going to be an ace, for sure. And the ace of spades is quite appropriate. Yeah. At some point, we need to see some dollar bills with his picture on it. We got to catch up with Harriet Tubman. That still needs to happen.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I would say about Barack. Anybody else want to say something?
I do. So with Barack, right? So of course he submitted his legacy as first African American president, right? But I think what we really have to understand about Barack is that Barack came into office and immediately was challenged. You had a group of Republicans that said, we're not going to let this man have any accomplishments. Not going to pass any legislation. You had this group that were resistant from the start. They founded an entire movement to stop this man, the Tea Party, right? All of a sudden, when Barack took office, it was the Tea Party, and it was about fiscal responsibility, which completely went out the window as soon as Trump was elected. But they blockaded this man from the beginning. So this is what he had to work with, right? But he came into the office where we were shedding hundreds of thousands of jobs, right? The economy was in free fall. The Bush administration had left it in shambles. This man came in, saved the global economy, saved the American automotive industry with TARP, saved the insurance industry, saved the airlines, saved the cruise line, saved the American banking and financial system, in addition to the insurance industry. This man saved tens of millions of jobs and saved even more if you understand how the impact that he had on the global economy with TARP and with some of the other, saved millions of people from losing their homes, right? So this you have to evaluate this man's legacy from that, the resistance to him and the fact that he was still able to save the global economy and save millions of people's jobs and homes and entire industries, right? And he doesn't get enough credit. And this man should absolutely go down as one of the greatest presidents that this country has ever had because of just for that alone, him, the jobs he saved, the economies he saved, and doing it while facing this tremendous win based on his race.
And then saying he wasn't an American because he was born in Hawaii.
Right. So they were challenging. I mean, they even challenged his
birth
identity. Right, challenging, and we still haven't heard back from those investigators that Trump sent to Hawaii. I guess they're enjoying themselves.
Oh yeah, professional liars once again.
Yeah. So that's my take on him. Just evaluate his legacy. People say he didn't do enough for the black people. Well, guess what? You have a job. If you work for Ford or GM or any other, he saved your job. So you have to understand what he
was dealing with.
Right? And so the other thing about Barack is when we try to judge him and say he didn't have a black agenda, his black agenda was making sure that while he was the first, he wouldn't be the last. And so that's enormous, to make sure that there would be other African-American leaders that would come after him. And so he did the best he could do with what he had to work with. And I think he set a precedence of excellence. And so if the door does open sometime in the future for another black leader, a lot of it has to do with, we can thank him for a lot of that.
And, he came to San Antonio and spoke here right downtown in St. Paul Square. I was able to take some great pictures of him while he was speaking.
Wow.
And so he did a lot of good. And yeah, you can criticize any president, some of them more than others.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But so that's really important. And I'm glad he got a card on the famous deck of cards we're working on, that Vista Products is working on. So I'm glad he got one of those cards. Who else is on there? Thurgood Marshall?
Thurgood Marshall, but I want to go ahead and talk about Kamala Harris first.
Okay.
Because she did run for president. She took a lot of hits.
Oh, yeah.
She took a lot of hits, unfortunately, from us, because of how she handled the justice system in California, where she was, I guess, following the law, and a lot of black men ended up in jail. But she was following the law. She took a lot of hits when asked, "Are you going to do anything specific for black people?" When she was running for president, she says, "No, I'm not going to do anything specific for black people."
Right.
And I have to admit, I kind of looked at her kind of side-eyed, but I also, after talking to some politicians here in town, so you have to understand what she was working with.
Right.
And if she said she was going to do things specifically for black folks, and other black politicians said specifically for black folks,
right,
then they would have caught more drama behind that.
Absolutely.
They would start calling her a racist.
Right.
But I was so proud to see her run. She maintained that stamina. She represented the country well on the campaign trail. The crowds, I think what really amazed me was the crowds that showed up in the various cities where she was out there giving her campaign speech with walls. And I felt that, if you just look at the numbers, there was no reason why she shouldn't have been president. I think she had the experience. She was attorney general. She was senator. She was vice president. She had the pedigree to be a president.
If I might, Sharon, I'm going to throw a little different tack on that. Part of the reason why I think she lost is Joe Biden didn't give her much of a chance. He dropped out. He should have never ran the second time anyway, in my opinion. He dropped out, but that only gave her less than 100 days to run for office. She was at an automatic disadvantage. And I blame Joe Biden for that. I don't care what the other Democrats say.
She has a book coming out where she talks about that.
Well, I'm glad, because Joe Biden made whoever was advising Joe Biden, or if it was just him and his wife deciding everything, which is what I've been hearing, then that should not have been. His advisor should have told him, go sit down. You already did what you can do. You're getting old. You're trying to run off you're trying to pretend like you're running when you get off the stairs coming on the tarmac.
Yeah.
And that was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. And he was like moving in slow motion.
Yeah.
I go, oh my God. He shouldn't have never even done that. That made him look worse.
Yeah.
And so he made a horrible mistake, and my mind was running again. And then, it bothered me that he dumped that responsibility on her without not giving her enough preparation time.
Right.
She could have, I think, probably could have won. A lot of people didn't know who she was.
Right.
Then not enough preparation time. And a lot of people don't even pay attention to who the vice president is. Oftentimes,
Yeah.
they don't.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's my take on that. I think she might have won if she had been out there a little bit longer.
My take on it is she may have one. We don't. We'll know that too. We'll know that one day. Hopefully, if it comes out about the the outlets and the voting machine, if that comes out, hopefully we'll find out. But she, admittedly, I'm on the show. I wasn't initially a Kamala fan. I said that plenty of times on the show. I do think that she was qualified. And as the campaign went on, I did become, of course, a Kamala supporter. I think that this country would have been in a much better place had she won. I think the world would have been in a much better place had she won. I think she was sold out by white women, and I think she was sold out by Latino community, particularly Latino males. With this machismo and the idea of voting for a black woman, voting for a woman and then voting for a black woman at the same time. So I think she had a lot of forces that were working against her. She worked with what she had to work with, but she ran for the time that she was given, she ran an excellent campaign. The DNC was put together. It was absolutely first class. She carried herself and her family and everyone else with dignity and grace in her loss. And so and I really hope, a lot of times because of after being vice president and running unsuccessfully for president, it kind of winds down your political career. But I certainly hope that this is not the end of her story. She's still relatively young. I think she still has a lot to contribute, and not just on the speaking circuit. And so I definitely hope that she does remain engaged.
One other thing that was to her disadvantage was the right wing, the Trumpers. They purposely would mispronounce her name, and then instead of calling her Kamala, like you would pronounce Kama, they were calling her Kamala.
Yeah,
and I'm sure, maybe I can't prove it, but I'm sure, educated guess wise, that he probably got that pronunciation from Hulk Hogan, because there was a wrestler way back in the day called Kamala, the Ugandan Giant.
I remember.
Yeah, and it was a joke. This guy wasn't from Uganda. He probably from like down on Houston Street somewhere. And that's wrestling. Wrestling is totally fake.
Oh yeah.
But that's Trump relying on fake people to give him advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in wrestling they have these fake blood vials, or they slap on their own head.
Yeah, or on the ear.
Yeah, or on their ear.
Yeah.
But anyway, she needs a card.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Let's go to our king, Thurgood Marshall.
Thurgood.
All right, well, I'll kick it off and then add to it as we go. Thurgood Marshall worked with the NAACP. He was a lawyer. And his expertise in filing lawsuits against Jim Crow legislation, against businesses that wouldn't let black people go to those businesses. He actually carried on that fight, filed and won quite a few cases at the federal court level. And then chosen, oh my goodness, to be a member of the first black member that we know of, first black member of the United States Supreme Court. And he carried the black agenda all the time he was there. I think he did his best. Couldn't always win them, but he did his best in terms of making sure that the legislation that was available, that the rules that were available in terms of filing in federal courts, and all of the other things that affect black people from a legal point of view, he was always on top of that. And of course, like God, just numerous things he did while he was working with the NAACP just made him an icon that'll go down in history. Of course, right after that, he was gone. Then we wound up with I still use the word Uncle Tom, but some people call him Sambo. So I don't know. It's still the same thing. You know what I'm talking about,
Right.
But we weren't we were unfulfilled with someone who would not carry the black agenda,
Right.
but would carry a racist agenda.
Right.
You talking about Clarence Thomas?
Uncle
Oh my
Ron.
God, is that who I'm talking about? I'd have never guessed. But yes,
That is a gut punch.
Yeah.
Right, it's a gut punch.
You went from Thurgood to Clarence.
And for someone who used to have been a Black Panther to do the switch.
Right.
but he actually wasn't.
Right.
Because I checked that out.
checked it out?
No, he was never a Black Panther. What he used to do, and I never forget this, and I'll give you a personal example. When I was doing work with the Black Panthers, I had a guy come up to me because he was just inspired by the Black Panthers. They put on a black leather coat. Wait a minute, he put on a tam, and he came to me and tell me, man, I got hassled by the police for me dressing like you all. That's what Clarence Thomas did. He put on a tam and a black leather coat, and people thought he was a black. He never was a Black Panther. He never was.
He's faking the funk.
He was faking it. Yeah. Well, like he's faking the job he's got now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shirley Chisholm.
Yeah, Shirley Chisholm. This was the first Black woman to run for president. And she's from New York.
Mm-hmm.
She's a little tiny woman. But I guess when I remember hearing her name, I don't know what grade I was in, but to see that this Black woman was running for president, that put a big smile on you. You know, it made you proud that one of us back in this time, in an era where civil rights was still being fought, and she stepped on out there and ran. So Shirley Chisholm is one to where, she needs to have a jack.
And she never got, in my mind, she never got full credit for being woke about the civil rights stuff that she did participate in. I don't think she ever got the full credit for that.
Oh, we just remember her running for president.
That's it.
She was involved in the civil rights.
She had a background of human rights activity, civil rights activity.
Right. Oh, Colin?
I don't want that one.
I'll do Colin. So Colin's legacy, right?
And he's number 10 on the deck.
He's number 10. So first Black chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, right? Rose through excellence, by all metrics, by all his, everyone who knew him, they spoke highly of him, and a great commander, took care of his men. The Colin Powell doctrine that he was, he put out there, which is highly quoted by even the president talked about Colin Powell doctrine. And so by all metrics, he was a great commander, a great leader, who not only was the first African-American chairman of the Joint Chiefs, but became the first African-American Secretary of State, right? Enormous. And so he paved the way for other Secretary of States, paved the way for other Joint Chiefs through sheer excellence. And Colin was thought highly of by across all demographics, across all parties. He was highly thought of, and so it's that the epitome of Black excellence. And so later on, that legacy was tarnished. We do have to tell the truth. Colin was set up to give a false intelligence that he was fed. You had an extremely powerful vice president who was pushing an agenda for Halliburton, and a president who wanted to revenge his daddy. And so you had this invention and this, and then you had the people in Iraq who wanted to be the president of Iraq, who were also feeding false information to the U.S. government. So it was a conspiracy of lies that set him up to go before the United Nations and say that, we believe that Iraq is manufacturing weapons of mass destructions, and here's this uranium bomb.
Well, and to his credit, he eventually did say, I was led astray.
Yeah.
That the intelligence community gave him the baloney.
Wrong information.
And why'd they give him baloney? Maybe because he was black. Good fall guy.
Yeah. Excellent. And then no one else had the credibility. They used his credibility to sell this. No one else in the administration could have gone before Congress, who had that kind of stature as chairman of Joint Chiefs, first Secretary of State, like I say, widely respected by all. So he had the credibility and the stature to go up there and to sell that to not only to the American Congress but to the United Nations.
You know, somebody that we haven't mentioned, I'll just throw his name out real quick. General Honore with from the New Orleans, from
New Orleans.
Katrina.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen it? Some of the stuff he did is just amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he said the National Guard and the police were out there when people were trying to get food out of a store
In fact,
just to eat. And he would go and tell the cop, you see a cop with their guns out, and he would lower your weapon right now, and I ain't going to tell you twice.
in fact, he's featured in Spike Lee's movie, a documentary on Netflix,
Okay.
Katrina.
Oh, I seen that.
Come hell or high water.
Hell or
Yeah.
High Water.
Yeah.
So you need to see that.
Yeah.
Now,
No,
that's the one where he's telling the National Guard and the police, lower your weapon. People ain't doing nothing. They're just trying to get some food out of a store.
Yeah.
So what? They need to eat.
yeah.
We need to do a show on that documentary.
You know what? But he is awesome general, awesome, and you have these people from the community. He's through and through Southern Louisiana boy, and so this is kind of what a little bit off subject. This is what gives me hope, and why I know that this country is going to remain a democracy despite other folks' best efforts. Because you have generals and leaders like Honore, who is going to protect this community against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
And we know about the domestic one.
Yeah, we know about
right
the domestic
now.
one. Yeah. So, but no, Colin Powell, like I say, was one of the ones who paved the way for
To Honore's.
Honore, for leaders to rise to that level and that stature. Hometown general,
Hugh
right, who just left the chairmanship.
Davis.
So, no, Colin, anybody else?
No,
I'm-
he's the
I
man.
think that's good.
He's the
Okay.
man.
Who's
My
next?
girl.
Your girl.
My girl.
All right. Jennifer, watch
My girl
out.
Condi. So,
You can have that one too.
my girl Condi. Okay. So, I mean, Condoleezza, again, epitome of Black excellence. So, a lot of folks in the community, because of her political affiliation, there are folks in the community who don't acknowledge her accomplishments, right? Or so, to me, her legacy is not even complicated. Condoleezza grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, Dynamite Hill. She actually knew the 4 little girls who were killed in the 16th Street bombing, church bombing. She grew up with a lot of the civil rights icons that came out of Birmingham at that time. So she was committed to African American civil rights. The mechanism by which she took on those challenges was through demonstrating Black excellence is through education. She went on to the University of Denver, where she was educated by Joseph Corbell, Madeleine Albright's father. Classic pianist. She speaks French fluently, speaks Russian fluently. She was Reagan's translator when he met with every time he met with Gorbachev, she was his translator. She's fluent in Russian. She actually met the Soviets. She became one of the Soviet experts, Soviet advisor. And remember, this is an African American woman from Birmingham who is sitting on the global stage at Reykjavik, translating or giving foreign policy advice to the most powerful nation in the world, right? This teeny tiny Black woman from Alabama. So you have to examine that. And then so she went on to get pulled in to advise Junior. When Junior wanted to run for president, he needed somebody to babysit him. And so, of course, they called up Condi to babysit Junior. She became his national security advisor and eventually his secretary of state. But she was national security advisor during a tremendous challenge, tremendous time during this country, during September 11th, right? When the attacks came, she convened the principals meeting and got us through some dark, uncertain hours. And she maintained nerves of steel when everyone else was running around with chickens with their head cut off. She had that strength of a Black woman and maintained that calm. It was her policies that led us through those moments. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped the first George. So no, she was, remember, she was National Security Advisor or on the National Security Advisor when the first Bush was president. And
Herbert Walker Bush.
Right, when Herbert Walker. So during the time she was on the National Security Council, the entire world changed. The collapse of the Soviet Union. And so she was the Russian expert who navigated us through the collapse of the Soviet Union, through the reunification of Germany, through making sure that those weapons, those nuclear weapons, were destroyed, were centralized and destroyed, so you wouldn't have nuclear weapons spread all out through Kazakhstan, through Ukraine, through all these former Soviet republics, right? Belarus. She was responsible for securing the nuclear weapons. She went on setting the foreign policy to make sure she was one of the instigators of what they call the Partnership for Peace through Europe. She had, a tremendous legacy, not just through Reagan, but through the first Bush, and then, of course, through second Bush, helping us navigate our policy through 9/11, getting the terrorists, going after bin Laden. Tremendous legacy. First African American woman Secretary of State. So just evaluating her through that lens, like I say, give McGill a chance. Give her a chance. That's all I'm saying.
Would she be a DEI hire?
She would be the furthest thing from a DEI. So, and you even have it's consistent across the board with Republicans. If Condi would have ran, they would have voted for Condoleezza Rice. I think realistically, if you want to have somebody who realistically could have, she had crossed out all the boxes. And the fact that she was multilingual. Yes, and the fact that she had the Republican Party in lockstep. She had the Bushes in lockstep. She is their girl. She has the old school Republican and all the Republican money in lockstep. The only thing she would not have had is probably, depending on how many of us would have got on board because of, but no, she realistically could have been the first African American woman to be president of the United States, and would have been the Republican nominee.
Who else we got?
We got
the man behind the curtain. What other card you got? We have
Douglas Wilder, who was the first Virginia's first black governor.
Oh, yeah. I'll say a few things about him, and then add some more.
Okay.
First black governor in a state that was the stronghold of the slave owner government. Robert E. Lee's birthplace, I think.
Yep.
The stronghold of the Confederacy.
Absolutely.
Probably the worst place in the world to be. Richmond being the capital, and oh my goodness! So he became the governor of a place where the Confederacy had a really strong foothold there, and they're still mad to this day about having lost Richmond. And actually, Abraham Lincoln was in Richmond when the city fell, or went to the city when it fell, to Union troops. A lot of Union troops black. But that's the kind of backdrop that Governor Wilder came into office with, and being able to cross that threshold, being able to galvanize thousands of black voters into doing something that was long overdue, and that was to run a black person for governor and to defeat the old Confederacy.
Yep.
And that's what he did. He defeated the old Confederacy.
Yeah, absolutely. Governor Doug Wilder, he definitely deserves his place in the deck. Historic, definitely.
Who's next?
We have Carol Moseley Brown, who was the first black woman in Michigan in history to serve as in the Senate.
Senate, right? Yeah. I don't know a lot about her. But
first African American woman in the United States Senate. Historic, and so she's phenomenal. You want to say more about Carol?
Well, I just remember the fact that she was the first black woman senator. I don't know that much about her, but the fact that she reached that level of prominence in her political career needs to be acknowledged.
I do remember her speaking out against bad things as far as civil rights goes. So she was an advocate for black people in that position. So I remember her that way. Don't remember a lot of the details though. Because it was kind of her tenure was kind of short-lived.
Right.
Yeah.
One term.
And so, but she definitely needs a card. She did something unusual,
and she
being elected to the United States Senate.
Yeah.
And she would be number 7 in the card deck.
Open them.
Is that her?
Way.
Oh my goodness.
So Ed Brooks.
Yes.
Mario could do Ed Brooks. So we're doing Edward Brooks, first U.S. black senator elected by popular vote. the Republican from Massachusetts.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember him.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, he amazing on the fact that he was the first U.S. black senator out of Massachusetts on a Republican ticket. And so we had black congressmen that ran on the Republican ticket right after the Civil War, right during Reconstruction.
when the Republicans were liberal. The Republicans were liberal back in those days.
Right. So yeah, this is after the parties had switched.
The roles have changed, haven't they?
Yeah.
Well, let me just throw that in real quick because we get this stupid argument all the time about the Republicans are the ones that helped to free the right to emancipation. Lincoln was a Republican, but the Republicans then were liberal and not conservatives. And so somebody argued with me one day about that. Well, how could they have been liberal when they did these conservative things? I said, no, slavery was the central thing that either made you liberal or conservative.
Right.
If you favored slavery, then you were a conservative.
Right.
If you were against slavery, like Abraham Lincoln eventually became,
Right.
then you were considered a liberal, no matter what other conservative stuff you might have done.
Right.
So the Republicans were considered liberal, and then around 1930, it switched. The Democrats were the party of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yep.
But after 1930, around the time of the Depression, then the Democrats became the liberals, and the Republicans went in the other direction.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to go back into the 1870s during the Reconstruction period.
Oh, boy.
And we're going to the state of Mississippi where they elected the first black senator, Hiram Revels.
Okay. I remember.
Yeah, Reconstruction, you have to look at it like what it was about, and then how it was destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a short period of time. Some people say 9, 10, 11 years, somewhere in there.
Right.
Maybe 65 to 76, roughly, 1876. But in that very small window of opportunity, there was an attempt by the government to give black folks their rights, to give black folks the ability to run for office at the highest level. And then that happened with him. He won the election on the highest levels. And God, that was the hard thing to do back then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he had the former slave owners. There's a good picture of him. Former slave owners they hated this. They hated Reconstruction. And then, of course, they did their best to end Reconstruction and either remove black folks from office and make it almost impossible through Jim Crow law after Reconstruction was destroyed. So the former slave owners came back to power, once again after 1876 and tried their best to destroy everything advantage or correct thing that black people were able to accomplish.
Right.
Destroy it all. Take away their right to vote, take away their freedom, increase lynchings, increase hangings, increase crimes against black folks. So he was at a pivotal moment. Reconstruction was a pivotal moment. It just didn't last long enough. But in my opinion, if they had executed all the slave owners, it would have lasted a little bit longer.
Yeah, and this is a period when a lot of black folks were voted into Congress.
Right.
Lots of them. And so
More so than now, right, Caleb?
more so than
right now.
Yeah. Had the Union troops remain in the South,
More would have been
more time to submit those changes, more time to change opinions, more time to implement a lot of the social and economic changes, and really implemented the idea of abandoning equity, abandoning a lot of the initiatives, the redistribution of land, so a lot of that stuff was abandoned. The death knell came when they withdrew the Union troops.
And one of the things that rebels and others had to put up with was the withdrawal of Union troops from the South. The withdrawal of those soldiers.
Yeah.
You know what the racists and the former slave owners were doing? We can get them black folks now.
Yeah.
Because no more protection.
No more protection.
The army marched out of the South, and that killed the progress.
But after rebels came Blanche Bruce in Mississippi as, I guess, the second senator. He was a one-term senator, but the fact that Mississippi was kind of impressive, have these black senators during this time.
Well, they had the majority of the state was black.
And they caught a whole lot of hell, more than some other folks, because that was a Confederate stronghold.
Yeah.
They were sick and tired of those slave owners that should have been executed.
Yeah. So blacks after Reconstruction, after the Civil War, blacks had a real in states like Mississippi, Alabama, to a point, South Carolina, to a limited extent, Georgia, where you had just these massive black populations. There was a real chance for change, and to a lesser extent, you had some Tennessee, Arkansas, Virginia,
right.
But especially when in the Deep South, where you're Alabama's and Mississippi, even Louisiana, tremendous, just an enormous African American population.
Okay, so number 3 in the deck.
Oh, my girl,
Barbara Jordan.
our girl.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I can still hear her voice.
Oh,
Yes.
thundering voice.
Her voice,
Beautiful.
and,
Most beautiful
and,
voice I've ever heard.
it's kind of like, this is if she told me to sit down, I would sit down because of her voice. But she was from Texas, down in Austin, in that area. And the first black woman to go to Congress. And just a tremendous legacy behind her.
Yeah, and she, when she passed away, I believe she had multiple sclerosis,
Yeah.
if I'm correct about that. And we named a community center here after her. As a member, I was a member at that time of Organizations United for Eastside Development, which was called OUED, and we thought we might be able to get city funding if we named a building after her, because that was hard to vote that down. And the city, thanks to City Councilman Joe Webb and other city council members as well, Henry Cisneros, I believe also, they voted to agree to name the building that we have now on the east side of San Antonio, called the Barbara Jordan Community Center. The NAACP local branch, their office is in that building right now. So she was such a beautiful speaker. She introduced the articles of impeachment against Richard Nixon. So, my God, that gives her, she might deserve an Ace card too. So, but very tremendous, beautiful woman. I was able to read the statement that she couldn't come to the opening ribbon cutting on the Barbara Jordan Community Center. So she sent a statement saying, "You can read this for me." And I was so proud to be able to read what she said. Thank you for dedicating this building in my name, and pretty much what it said. And so we were very happy that actually took place.
Right. Just I can hear
It's just the voice.
eloquence. Yeah, just the epitome of eloquence. Yeah. So the next one. With me, I have an issue with newness. Newness. And so I kind of think for people to make the deck, you have to have a longer legacy, a longer history of contributions, so we can really kind of sit back and say, okay, yeah, he didn't flip. You know what I mean? Or yeah, he's maintained consistency through his voting. He or she have maintained consistency in struggling for equity and rights, and you know what I mean. And so I like to examine people's legacy over the long march. And so
So you have a problem with this one?
I have a little teeny tiny problem with just a teeny one.
Who is this guy?
This is Raphael Warnock.
Oh, yeah.
Now, first black senator from Georgia, right?
Correct.
So,
And what else?
Pastor.
he took over pastor of Dr. King's church.
Okay.
Okay. So did those two things merit a place over all the other folks who have a longer legacy of political contributions?
You know what, though, Caleb? I agree with you about that. You have a good point about let's look at the overall record.
Right.
He doesn't really have that. But I think what helped him was his opponent. because he had an opponent that was the captain of the Sambo football team.
Oh yeah.
And because he had that opponent, Herschel Walker, oh my God, this guy was a joke to say the least.
It has made it easier for him.
Yeah, I think he had one of those concussions you get from playing football. Or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, so because that was his opponent, it put him there as someone that we need to recognize, because he did oppose someone who was black, at least in this way,
Right.
but not black that way.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
so that gave him a place, but I agree with you about he didn't have a long one, but that probably is what gave him one anyway. Even though it's minimal.
Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, this spot, I can think John Lewis off the top of my head, right? Why is John Lewis not in this spot instead of Raphael Warnock?
Right.
You know what I mean? Someone who has a longer history of political fight. Even though I think we included John in civil rights, but I mean, when you talk about, there's just so many other folks
Even Cummings.
who have Elijah Cummings. When you talk about political, there's just so many others that I would have rather have. Even Sister Maxine Waters.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's just a lot of other folks who I think who've established themselves throughout history much longer time.
More.
Well, we got a lot of our deck of cards. You know, we're working on it.
Yeah, we're working on it. So there'll definitely be other decks with some of the folks who didn't make the initial list, and so we definitely want you to give us your feedback for the next deck. So who's going to be? Who would you include in the next political deck that wasn't included in this deck? So we definitely want to hear from you. We definitely want to hear your feedback on this. And so this is our deck. You want to say anything else about the?
Yeah. Well, in a short period of time, we can't get them all.
Right,
So that's why we want to hear. Look at all them cars flying across the screen. In the short period of time we have, we talk about who we can.
Yeah.
But the audience, I'm sure, has many other names on their mind. Julian Bond. I mean, we can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
On and on. So we're not trying to neglect anyone.
Right.
But the list is massive.
Yeah.
It's a massive list. We need to double the deck of cards. Who's in charge of deciding how many cards in the deck? We need to double that, make it 104.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll be on the lookout. There'll be other decks of cards, and so anybody you think that needs to be on the next list, definitely reach out to us. We love to hear your comments, and then the other decks too. So last week we did civil rights. Anybody you thought that should have made the civil rights deck, give us your feedback. Next week we'll be covering sports. African American sports.
Oh, we need Muhammad Ali on one of those cards.
Man, Muhammad Ali, Mike. I like Mike, Iron Mike. So many people that should, Joe.
Arthur Ashe.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah.
The
Venus and Serena. So we'll stay tuned to make sure you see who makes next week's
the
deck.
new one, Coco Graf.
Yeah.
And the other lady that stood up to some white supremacist from Europe somewhere.
Taylor Townsend.
What's her name? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of them.
Yeah. So you'll see who's going to be on.
Colin Kaepernick.
Colin.
Yeah. Took a knee.
Should he have even made?
Yeah, that's sports.
Political or civil rights too. So
both. Yeah. He's got Paul Robeson.
Paul Robeson.
All kinds of things.
He could have gone either way. He could have gone civil rights. He could have gone
poetry,
sports,
film.
Yeah. So definitely stay tuned to see and let us know who you think should be on the decks of cards. We've had 2 down so far. We've done civil rights. We've done politics. Sports is upcoming. And any other decks you think should be included. So science. So many of them.
Science. Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, yeah. Charles Drew, Benjamin Banneker.
The hidden figure ladies with the calculus problem.
Yeah, definitely.
That sent people to the moon.
So we definitely want to hear from you. And so you want to take us home?
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and go home. But first of all, we want to thank Carl Booker, who is our producer. Also, my name is Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell. This is Caleb Alexander. And we also have Mario Salas, who is on the table with us today. But to you, again, put your comments in there. This is his girl, Condoleezza Rice. But
would you say pick up the paper? Not just have a girl, but just pick up the paper.
Pick up the paper. And where can you get the paper?
HEB. HEB.
Yeah, a lot of other places
Lot,
too.
yeah, a lot of other places.
Churches, some churches.
Some churches.
Restaurants.
Yeah.
If some of your favorite restaurants. So definitely grab the paper. New issues every week and online. We definitely want you to be subscribers. You can grab the paper online. We'll mail it right to you. Right? We'll mail it right to you. So yeah, you can definitely grab the paper online, and it's also in HEBs in Austin. So we are growing and expanding. Look out for the paper in Austin as well.
Right.
Okay, with that being said, this is Contemporary Black Voices, where we tell our story our way.